Texas and throughout the world. It's football time in Tennessee.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to your weekly Wednesday episode, the Vols ATB podcast. Got my boy Drew, Shot Clock Cheese from my boy Big Top Rob joining us last second. Happy to have him on. We got a jam-packed episode, man.
What up, gang?
Obviously, a lot to uncover from last week, the third Saturday in October. Looking forward, trying to bounce back, going against Kentucky in the coal mines. First off, boys, before we go into this breaking news, how y'all been this last week?
I mean, we got a lot to uncover with that loss on Saturday, but outside of that catastrophe at the second half, I'm actually doing pretty well. And we got, Tennessee basketball is right around the corner. Got, an exhibition on Sunday against Michigan State. So I'm looking forward to that. But, yeah, for the most part, I really can't complain.
Same here, man. I've had a good week. I actually started back school this week. I'm going to barber school. So if you need a haircut, fly to Colorado and I got you, you know what I'm saying? But nah, man, it's been a good week. Was a little emotional Saturday. Was pretty upset. I didn't show it a whole lot, but I was pretty upset Saturday, man. Talked to some people, man, and before we get, deep into it, but I will say this. The thing I take away from this past weekend the most is Alabama has a way better roster. No matter if they're playing like it or not, they have a way better roster, and their roster showed up in the second half. I personally feel like we given Tennessee a little bit too much hell. I think we just forgot that Alabama is that damn good, and Nick Saban is still the GOAT, no matter what the first half looked like. You got to remember that, and that's my conclusion to it. I'll get into it later, but.
I mean, bro, we're definitely gonna hop into it, and I'm glad you mentioned the talent differential because I saw a stat and it was 18 5-stars alone, not counting blue chip prospects, just 5 stars alone compared to one that Tennessee lost for the season, and the second one's their backup quarterback on the bench. So I mean, we saw from the first half, man. If anything showed us that you can go and out scheme anybody or have whatever script you have going into a game, but if you don't go into the second half, if you don't score points as well, you're going to get the same result. That starts, though, in the recruiting process. That starts, getting people to believe in your program. And that's what Josh Heupel just did, man. 2025 running back, 4-star on some sites, man. Justin Baker from Buford High School in Georgia commits to the Tennessee Volunteers over schools like Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and others. Big body running back, definitely something that Tennessee can use in their backfield, that they have shown well to use in their backfield. Drew, you're from the area. What does this kind of mean for Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big-time get. Anytime you're able to get a kid from Buford, which consistently, year in, year out, they always produce 4-star, 5-star talent. I mean, Dylan Raiola, who's his quarterback, is a 5-star QB committed to Georgia. So, I mean, this is a really good get for us. A kid that plays against exceptional talent. I mean, I think 7A high school football in Georgia is arguably, in my opinion, some of the best in the country.
It's a fact. Georgia has the best football in the country. California.
Well, I'm glad Rob agrees with me on that one.
It's a
fact, I know some
bro.
people from Texas would disagree otherwise.
No.
But
Georgia, California, Texas. That's the three. That's it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we'll need that help, especially in the coming years in the running back room when Jalen Wright and Jabari Small in the next couple of years or so are going to be gone. And potentially Dylan Sampson as well. So you're looking at, that possibility in 2025 of being, maybe Cam Seldon and Justin Baker as you being, your top 2, top 3 running backs in that rotation. So I think this is a good get. And I mean, anytime you're out recruiting schools like Georgia, Alabama, and Michigan, especially, all schools are always in college football playoff contention. It's always a good get. So, I mean, this was desperately needed for Heupel and the staff. And, I mean, the 2025 recruiting class is shaping up to be a really good one as well.
Yeah, man. This kid is – I don't know if y'all have, actually seen him.
Yeah, he's a beast, man.
He's good.
He's good.
John Kelly-esque, man.
My man is jacked, bro. I'm talking about, he looks –
5'9", 200.
He looks 230 right now. He literally looks 230. My man – good get, man. I'm excited about it a little bit. I won't sit here and BS you and act like, oh my God, because I don't really feel like that, simply because I'm ready to see some offensive linemen and some defensive linemen commits. That's what I want to see. Just plain and simple. That's what I want to see. Glad they got a running back committed to the class. That's dope. I love it. Shout out to that young man. You know, you living your dreams. That commitment was dope. You had hype basically tell the entire crowd that you committed. That was dope. Like, I love that, man. But let's get some offensive line, some defensive linemen, man. Saturday shows, that's what we need.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I think you can definitely tell the staff that we're getting ahead. Obviously, these first few classes have been able to rebuild the roster and get it to a championship level to begin with. To even try to go after those, but this 2025 class is already shaping up like these are the relationships they've had years to build, being in the building. The third commitment of the class, Dylan Lewis and Shamar Onyx, teammates, in Georgia, 2 DBs, and now a running back to lock down the class so far. You got a lot of top targets on the board, man, like Cameron Sparks, George McIntyre, like plenty of guys that you can go after and still
be a tough get, man. It's gonna
be
a tough get.
There's a lot, but that's the thing, man. I like that you mentioned that because it's not like Tennessee's going out here and winning recruits over Arkansas State or Memphis or 3 stars. They're hoping to find a diamond in the rough, man. They're competing with blue chip schools. The best of the best, and they're
kids got an Alabama and Auburn offer, so you already know what that means.
They're winning these battles, man, which is crazy. So to see them go in there and out recruit what we see as a fan base is a lot of stuff in the media off a loss. Like these kids are seeing into the program, buying in, and a lot of positive vibes around the program. So I think he's a 4-star on Rivals. He's like a top 25 running back on 3. I'm sure with a 2025, like they got an extra 2 years to build that. He's just hitting his stride at a stacked roster in Buford. Like he's going to have a lot more playing time, a lot more touches. He's going to grow. And the kid's like already like his training videos are insane. He does not skip leg day. This is a big body power back guy. And I agree with Drew that behind like Cameron Sullivan and Khalifa Keith, this is going to be a guy that's going to be able to, to pass protect. And that's what you do, like we don't have a lot of guys. We got Jabari Small and like Jalen Wright's grown into that role, but you don't get that from D-Samp. So we getting this kind of, hybrid running back-esque. It's going to be a lot of beneficiary to the room. And I think obviously people are gonna be like it's a long way away, but hold that class and get these guys to buy in. It's gonna be a solid class in 2025.
I agree.
And so for sure, a lot of recruiting to look at. Got to get the guys in the building because what we saw this past week, man. I think none of us would have came on the show last week, or none of us even said that Tennessee was gonna jump out to a 17-7 lead, a 20-7 lead, and find a way to lose that game. It's absolutely insane. I think the script, man, the best, like Joe outperformed himself from A&M in the first quarter of this game. The Squirrel White top 10 Sports Center catch. I think he was hitting all of his reads well. Like it's just crazy the differential in the first and second half.
Oh, I mean,
Alabama changed their defense up and Tennessee didn't adjust. That's what happened.
That was the main thing. But
that's what happened.
Yeah,
they
got shoot out at halftime, man.
But talking about Joe though for a second, I mean, he statistically had one of the best days in college football last weekend, especially if you compare to guys like Michael Penix Jr., who struggled against Arizona State, Caleb Williams, who didn't play that well against their loss against Utah, and
apparently
Drake May.
Sit out the rest of the season now too.
I saw Manuel Acho say that.
That dude's weird, man. Yeah,
that's a clown. That's a clown. Clown take if I ever heard one. And I mean, even he even outperformed Drake May, which off topic, but I still cannot believe North Carolina lost to that Virginia team at home.
I can. Yeah, bro. Listen, bro. I was talking about it the other day, man. Listen, Virginia might not have the dudes that everyone else has, but what they do have is heart, man. Those guys have heart, and they do. And are we just gonna forget that their head coach has 2 national championships with Clemson, and he was the OC? Like, he might not have the players, but my man got the scheme and he knows how to coach. You know what I'm saying? So eventually you're going to win one of those games. Eventually. So,
No, I mean, fair play to Tony Elliott. And I'm actually glad to see that because, I know building that program from the bottom up, and especially in a place like Virginia where it's already difficult to recruit in the first place. I mean, massive achievement to him, fair play to him. But my thing is, though, it's just like anyone that tries to say that this loss on last Saturday against Alabama is on Joe is just simply does not know the game of football. I mean, it's just simple as that. Joe had his best performance all year by far, and that first half
ever.
He looked like a Heisman
was his best performance from Michigan to Tennessee. That was his best performance all around. His best.
Yeah. Better than the Orange Bowl for sure.
Absolutely.
Like the running man, the first drive, not scared of contact, being able to he knew where his receivers were. He had a lot of help from his receivers, man. Like even Ramel Keaton, man, not just the head tap, but I don't know if y'all saw his outside splits. He was reading the defense right, putting Joe in the best position. He was catching balls and like just the offense in a whole, man. I think maybe like the running outside just wasn't really there, but running up the middle like was really successful to begin with. Jabari and Jalen both finding the holes. Like Cooper Mays was being a dog on that nose tackle, man. He was going crazy. It was just weird, man. The adjustments, you can't come out and score 0 points, but I think it definitely, like, Tennessee probably should have had 10 to 14 more points on the board as well.
It should have been 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. That's what the score should have been at the end of 100%.
They should have scored anywhere between 21 to 24, even 28 points in that first half, especially when you had 2 possessions starting off in the red zone as well. I mean, that was just there's so many things we get into. I mean, I'm curious about y'all's thoughts on this, but my kind of big takeaway again was just the fact I feel like you have to put this loss on Heupel and the staff. I mean, the scheme in the second half, they didn't come well adjusted. Alabama was going to play way more tighter, be way more aggressive offensively than they were in the first half. We didn't do anything to kind of switch any things up. And then by the time that we did, where you saw Joe running up the middle, trying to make a play happen, it was, far too late at the end of the fourth. So this is a second game in a row, in my opinion, where Heupel once again got the play calling wrong, in my opinion. And I think he deserves to be called out for that as well. I mean, you can't put this on the players. I mean, Joe can only do so much with what he has. You know what I mean?
They weren't open in the second half. Wide receivers no separation. Now, I know about the penalties. I know the wide receivers are getting mauled. I know. But at the end of the day, it's not a pass interference every play. You got to get open, man.
What was crazy to me is, man, like that interception that we got on Milroe could not have come at a better time because we were already struggling offensively. And then like you try to turn around with that possession, man. That one ball where like it was the 3rd and goal or whatever, where he threw the out route to Dylan Sampson. And yeah, Dylan got tugged a little bit, but like when I watched the replay and like CBS showed the replay,
Joe just threw it wide.
True, but Sampson was the only one running a route, man. Like Squirrel and Keaton on the outside.
It was open though. Joe just threw it wide, man. It was open,
man. And Joe then they missed him. It's just weird to me, man. Like,
Joe also missed 6-7 Jacob Warren in the end zone. I'm not like ragging on Joe or anything. I'm just saying, like, Joe missed those 2 throws, and those 2 throws were critical. Man, but it happens. It happens. It's football.
I mean, Joe didn't play a perfect game by any means, but man, I mean, when you start off red hot, going 9 for 9, 10 for 10, and then you have that drop from Dante, which that would affect any player's confidence whatsoever. Because I felt like, after that drop, you saw a difference and more hesitance from Joe, back in the pocket and throwing those passes as well. It's just
next drive where he's running the option with Jabari behind him, and then he the last second he pitches it away. Like it is like I think the communication was so good the first 2 drives, and then it just got off, man. And that's what we tried to say last week about how good of a script writer Heupel is, because you can definitely tell the difference between what they practice for those first 2 drives compared to like getting into the live ball when the adjustments are made. And like you said, man, we just didn't adjust. I mean, it's definitely an offensive issue of why we didn't win that game. But at the same time, 27 unanswered points. James Pierce for the first time in my life
as well. Yeah.
James Pierce for the first time in my life got his match, man. Like it was just crazy to see. Barron was in a fucking bar fight for all I know. Tyler Barron is getting hoed every weekend. It's just crazy. Like my man is in Mortal Kombat for real. Like I saw AP's tweet. What can you do, man, when you're down there? Obviously, that pass rush would have made a difference in that play, especially. It's just
right. My thing is, my biggest takeaway, especially when it comes to the defense, and I think it kind of just says it all when it came to is that. That was weird. Yeah, now I'm back. I don't know if y'all saw
internet over there.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all saw Elijah Herring's comments in the post-game conference, but he basically implied that when they were up by 13 at halftime, that they already figured that they got this game in the bag and they won it. I
started having concerns, man, when Kamal hadn't popped the shoulder.
I agree. Man, I think that was a turnaround too.
I think people are reading too much into what he's saying. At the end of the day, you can't speak for how many can you take in a row? 65. You can't speak for 65 people. I feel like he was talking. He said we, but I feel like he was talking maybe more about himself more than anything. And also, he's 19, 20 years old. Clearly, obviously, you don't want to say that. You don't want to say that out loud. But at the same time, you could see it. You could see that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he was speaking for the entire team, but what he said has some truth to it, and we saw it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to call a spade a spade, all right? The guys just got a little comfortable. Alabama is just that good, and they lost the game. It's
exactly.
nothing you can do about it, man. At the end of the day, it always starts with coaching. It always does at the end of the day, man. And I will say maybe I've been a little bit too hard on hype because until the last 2 weeks, I've never really questioned any calls he's made. I'm just like, hype is what hype is. He gonna do what he do. We gonna score. You know what I'm saying? In the last 2 weeks, it haven't looked great, from a play calling perspective. But if he gets those first downs on those plays, man, there you go, hype. Way to be aggressive. So you got to be able to battle both sides of it. If they get it, awesome,
my whole
great.
thing
If
is
they don't, it's okay.
I was cool with the first field goal, right? The first goal, it's like 10-0, but I think the second one is probably where I would have went for it. And then the decision to go for it, like where it was on the line, where he had no choice to go for it. We were just in a really bad position, man. We gave Alabama the ball back on their side of the field. It was just like at that point, like you're asking for Alabama to go score. And I think we honestly,
I agree.
Didn't we almost stop? Like we held them to a field goal then, like, which was just crazy in itself. I think if Barron gets pressure, like you're not talking about an Isaiah Bond touchdown deep, you're talking about a sack instead. But at the same time, like you can't put yourself in a position to blame officiating, even if it's that bad. Like you're like, oh, what happened in Knoxville?
The play and tell me what the hell the secondary was doing.
That's what I want to
know. I'm not even going to blame that on hype of Martinez. That was just piss poor.
I want to say the Nico slaughter, man. I think the Nico might have got rushed back too soon, and that's just my opinion. But it does not make an excuse.
That wasn't on the Nico.
No.
I'm not talking about this.
Brandon, that whole entire collapse was on like Wesley Walker and all that. I mean, my whole entire thing about it is that you knew the entire first half of us playing man to man, putting pressure on Milroe, trying to get sacks and whatnot, and we start off playing like a soft zone defense in the second half, and they throw like 45, 50-yard bomb. I mean, that's just completely blown coverage. It was a horrible scheme. I mean, you would think. And this is my biggest issue that I have is like you would think like we did that in the first half against Florida and it was a complete and total disaster. You would think at this point that they would still just do what's working, which is putting pressure on Milroe, making him to force him to play, and allow your secondary to play one-on-one because when they're given the opportunity, our secondary actually played pretty decent, like when they were playing man-to-man. So there's so many things about this loss, man. It was so frustrating.
I mean, do we want to discuss the D. Williams fair catch or no?
No, but I don't want to talk about that, bro.
No,
it's pointless. It's pointless. At the end of the day, I will just say this about it. At the end of the day, apparently T. Lander did it like 3 times that game, and they just decided to call it out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Apparently, I don't know if that's accurate or not. I haven't seen the film, but a lot of people say
I've never seen that called on a game. Especially like on a regular kickoff, but I also saw it in the Iowa game where their punt return touchdown.
Home cooking, man. You know what it was? Home cooking. I ain't gonna blame the rest for the loss, but you can see the home cooking. It was there. Alabama turned in plays from that game all the way until this past Friday until Tennessee and Alabama played. They turned the tape in. I can bet you every single day for 364 days, and it showed up Saturday, regardless of why they lost the game or not. The refereeing of the game absolutely impacted it. If you call that hold with Tyler Barron, who knows if that's a touchdown? If you call the pass interference with Squirrel in the end zone, who knows if that was a touchdown? If you call the other pass interference with Squirrel in the end zone, who knows if that's a first down? It was just everywhere. It was obvious that Bama had a little home cooking. But here's what I'm gonna say: what a lot of people don't like, man. Last year we told Alabama to kick rocks, shut up, and stop complaining. So we got to do the same thing. You can talk about the refs all you want to, but we said the same thing to Alabama last year. And now all they're doing is getting their payback, and everybody's mad about it. You can't be mad about it, man. Last year in Knoxville,
we benefited from it.
That's what I'm saying. We benefited from the penalties last year. We benefited from it, bro. I mean, they didn't throw a pass interference on freaking Kool-Aid McKinstry until he got to the 10-yard line, bro. Like, what are we complaining about right now? I understand that the refereeing was awful. I get that. But the same thing happened to us last year, bro. So you can't be mad. You got to deal with it. You have to.
And that's my whole entire thing. At the end of the day, you should not have the refs rely on the refs in a football game.
Exactly.
I mean,
you were up 20-7. You can't blame that on the refs, bro.
Exactly.
27 unanswered is not the freaking referees. If you want to say 10 unanswered, then I'm with you. That's on the referees. 10 points was absolutely on the referees.
Yeah.
But 27? Hell no, man.
We're
no,
like we're talking about
no.
it's like a you capitalize on some of those possessions, and that strip sack doesn't happen where Campbell just gets blasted and Joe loses the ball. Like those 7 points away, everything else, like you're talking about a field goal game where Tennessee, where they're driving down and like they're trying to claw back after being up as many points. Like they could have just trusted Charles Campbell and been in a situation. Like it just all comes down to execution, man. I think the communication was a lot better than what we saw the last few weeks, especially on the road, against Florida. But dude, like it just wasn't enough. You can't make those mistakes and go out there and expect to win the ball game, bro.
I mean, I will say though, and it's not just for SEC officials, it's just for college football officials across the board altogether this season. There's got to be some type of accountability that is taken when it comes to this. I mean, there won't be at all. But my biggest two things in questionable calls by far was, I mean, obviously the D. Williams fair catch. That one made no sense. The other one, in my opinion, though, was the only penalty that Alabama got, which was that snap infraction. I don't know. It was on them. It benefited because we would have gotten a fumble there, and that would have completely changed the momentum of the entire game. I mean, you were talking about we would have the ball midfield and, potential to take back the lead. And, I mean, the only penalty they got, it actually helped them more than anything else. So, a lot of questionable calls, but as Rob said, at the end of the day, we gave up 27 straight points. We can only look at ourselves as the reason for that loss, and the reason is for that loss is that Alabama adjusted in the second half and Josh Heupel didn't. It's simple as that.
That's it, bro. There's honestly nothing else to say about it. And but like I always say every week that I'm on here, if you got something to say about Joe, shut the hell up. Joe played a great game, man. He wasn't perfect. I understand that. I agree he should have got rid of the ball on the strip sack. I agree with that. I agree, there was, a little bit of questionable things on the fourth down call. Should you have shoveled it to Jacob Warren? We don't know, guys. We don't know the play. We don't, they're wide open, throw the ball. You don't know where his eyes are supposed to be, all right? Coaches tell the players where to have their eyes, all right? Like coaches tell the players, this play right here, Brew McCoy is your first read, Squirrel White is your second read. So if Joe Milton is looking at Brew McCoy and throws an interception over the middle of the field, what does that tell you? That was his first read. I know Squirrel White was wide open on the right side, but that is not where his eyes were supposed to be. His eyes were in the right spot. He just didn't see the safety. So you just got to understand, the players do what the coaches teach them to do, and that's what Joe does. That's what the coaches mean when they say his eyes are in the right place and he's playing at a high level. It sounds stupid to you because you don't see it, but to the coaches, he is playing at a high level because his eyes are in the right spot. He's making the right decisions, no matter if it's a bad throw or overthrow, whatever the case may be. His eyes are in the right spot and he's doing what he's supposed to do in the play. That is playing at a high level.
I noticed something, man, that they did a lot of things to benefit Joe, and I think Joe, getting later in the season and more experience, is playing his better football. They kind of opened some things back up with Ramel doing the cutbacks and the comebacks, what benefited them in the Orange Bowl against Clemson last year in December. And I think you kind of saw some of that. I think going into this next week, I don't even know if it's even building trust or anything like that, but I think there's being able to let him play and the risk and reward factor. I don't think he's gonna. It's more times likely that he can make a play than he's going to throw a pick. But at the same time, the decision-making has to be on par. And just to even have that open up, though, it was crazy to see in the first half.
Side note, let's take an audible right fast. Whichever one of you fans made up that crap about Nico, I can't stand you. You're an idiot. You got ball Twitter all pissed off right now thinking Nico is finna leak. Stop, man. Y'all don't have nothing else better than
who it was, Rob?
Just make up stuff.
I don't want to say it. I'll say it on the air. It was Tony Basilio.
Come on, man. Why are you saying that?
It was Tony Basilio.
It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It doesn't matter. Why are you saying that on your show? People are gonna hear that and then tweet it all over Twitter, man.
They want to be right, and then they throw shit on the wall and hope it sticks.
But why would he leave? That's what. First of all, Dante Moore is at Notre Dame. All right,
exactly.
For one,
Malachi Nelson is at.
Why would Nico leave, bro? Listen to yourselves, guys. Listen and look. Open your eyes and you will see. It makes no sense for anything like that to happen, for one. And for two, it makes no sense for Basilio to even say that out loud, man. Just why? You want likes and clicks? That's crazy.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why a lot of those people do that. And,
it's so dumb, man.
You're completely right, Rob. He literally is guaranteed the job next season. And we're now convinced for some reason, part of our fan base is that He's going to leave a place where he's guaranteed a starting spot in the SEC
Where he
to a place where
his foundation at, man. His
Nico
8 foundation. They're like, oh, he's
where he would
gone.
have to be battling for a spot for a starting position and in the Big Ten next year. I mean, like, it's just absurd. It's just
My
ridiculous.
man finna make $8-9 million, bro. Probably even more.
Just like,
what the hell would he leave for, bro? Like 2 + 2 always equals 4, guys, but sometimes it really does equal 5 to y'all, and I don't understand it. I just don't get our fan base sometimes, man. I just don't get it. Makes no sense to me, bro. Stupidest thing ever to start that rumor, bro. No matter if it's true or not. Here's one thing that everybody knows, but because it's a Tennessee player, it's a big deal. Tampering is going on all over the country.
Oh,
I'm pretty Nico's DMs might be blowing up, but guess what? I bet you James Pierce DMs blowing up too. Like, come on, man. Like,
I bet last year Jalen Wright's DMs was blowing up too.
Come on, man. Like,
well, they were. I mean,
probably.
They probably. We know for a fact they were.
I mean, he was about to leave.
He
was going to leave, bro.
Yeah, he was about to leave North Carolina.
Man. Yeah. Like, tampering happens everywhere, bro. It's like I said, I don't know if it's true or not if Nico's getting hit up by them, but what I do know is that tampering is all over college football. It's just a big deal because it's Tennessee. It's a big deal. It's all over Twitter now. But if you go and ask any top-notch player at any school that ain't going to the draft after the season, look in their DMs, their phones, or talk to their people, and I guarantee you other schools are hitting them.
The tone's going to be completely different, in 2 weeks when Tennessee's back in Neyland Stadium against the UConn Huskies and Nico throws his first collegiate touchdown. They're going to be really quiet then. And I think that'll get everyone to fucking calm down, man. Like we got 5-6 more weeks in the season, man. Like we have
I think
let's go ahead and start Nico. We're not going to the championship, bro. You don't know what can happen. You do not know. There's a lot of football left to be played.
I will just say this about our fan base. I mean, we do have some of the best fans in college football. I mean, we show that every single Saturday in Neyland without a shadow of a doubt. But we also do have some of the most insufferable fans on the planet, and it's not even close. Anytime that there's any negative thing going on, whether if it's football, basketball, or even baseball, it's like as if the world's on fire, earthquakes are happening, babies are dying. I mean, it's just like, it's ridiculous. I mean, we're fine.
I mean, you knew about Chase Burns halfway through the season, and other schools was hitting them up. It happens everywhere, guys.
It happens everywhere.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, we're still 5-2. I mean, with 5 games left, I mean, there's still a possibility that we win 9 or 10 games, which honestly, people tend to forget this, but we overexceeded expectations last season. That is just a fact. A lot of people thought going into 2022 that, hey, we'll maybe go 8-4, or maybe if we get lucky, we'll go 9-3 this year. The fact that we won 11 games last year, we were way ahead of schedule. We're still on schedule right now at year 3. You're talking about the possibility of year 3 of us getting double-digit wins and getting 10 wins or plus back-to-back seasons compared to where we were 3 or 4 years ago. That would be an extraordinary achievement for Josh Heupel and the staff, and it would speak volumes for this program. I think people just need to relax. And as Rob said, he's absolutely right. The season's not over yet. There's crazier shit that's happened, and I think a lot of people forget this. Back in 2007, we had 2 losses in the SEC, and guess what? We were in Atlanta for the SEC championship.
You don't say, Drew. You don't say.
Holy shit.
And
you don't say.
Not to mention, Georgia has to play Missouri, Ole Miss, and us in 3 straight weeks. We got the tough part of our schedule out the door. People are afraid about,
Brock Bowers is not playing, guys. Brock Bowers is out. That gives Tennessee a chance.
Exactly.
Say that in my mic so y'all heard me.
I'll just say this, man. So obviously this weekend is huge in that fact, because I don't think anyone's foaming out the mouth more to get their hands on Tennessee than fucking Mark Stoops, just because he's how he cries. But you talk about that stretch, right? Like, Tennessee, they have 2 more home games of the season. The big question about how they play on the road is coming up. Like, how does Tennessee manage the road? We'll find out this week, get a chance to come back home, and then find out again when we go to Como. But I think that slate is definitely kind of tough for Georgia. And we saw, earlier this year where they kind of caught off guard. They had a 1-score game to Auburn, man. And like Vanderbilt played it close. I think that team is definitely beatable. And if anyone's going to do it, in my opinion,
they are more beatable than they were last year. And that is because they're, when you miss guys like Jalen Carter and Stetson Bennett, I mean, they don't have a quarterback, and they've just lost their best player on offense. I mean,
the best player on the team. Football gods, man.
Smart just want to run it, bro. He don't care to pass, so he just want to run it.
Branson Robb is about to go crazy.
there's a bunch of crazy shit that can happen in the next 4 weeks, man. All I'm saying is that a lot of us realistic fans had expectations of winning 9 or 10 games this year, and that is still a possibility. I think if we go
3.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we go 8-4, okay, it's whatever. 7-5 is disappointment, but 9-3 is the expectation. I mean, it has been the expectation since day one. And if you can do that, considering the fact that you lost Darnell Wright, who was a first-round draft pick, Jalen Hyatt, who won the Blittenkoff, Cedric Tillman, who was arguably our best wide receiver of the entire team, and Hendon Hooker, who had the best individual season since Peyton Manning, you still win 9 games in the regular season. That includes, a big win over Texas A&M, a revenge win over, South Carolina, a top 25 win against Missouri. That is still a fantastic year. I think this fan base just needs to pump the brakes and just relax. I mean, it's just a bit ridiculous right now.
Before I get out of here, guys, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to give you guys an example for some of you to understand what we're trying to say. All right. Let's take a trip back to 2015, 2016. Who was the quarterback at the University of Tennessee?
Old Joshua Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs, right? All right.
Old Joshua
Next
Dobbs.
question. How was the culture during that time, 2015, 2016?
It was terrible, Rob.
It was terrible,
bad.
right? It was awful,
Trash.
right? It was awful. All right. Next question. Who covered up all the BS that was going on 2015, 2016? Who covered it up?
Our coaching staff.
Josh Dobbs.
Oh.
Josh Dobbs covered all of that up. That did not come out until way later. And you know why it didn't come out? Because Josh Dobbs covered a lot of it up. So here's my example. The reason why Tennessee won 11 games, you know what? I will say 10 games last year, 10, 11, whatever you want to say. However many games Hendon Hooker played. Hendon Hooker did exactly what Josh Dobbs did. He covered up the fact that our roster was flawed. All right. He covered it up. Okay. I know you had Darnell Wright. I know you had Jalen Hyatt. I know you had Hendon Hooker, but Hendon covered up a lot, guys. You don't understand that. All right. Hendon Hooker didn't take sacks like that. When you coming at Hendon, he gone. He out of there, bro. And Joe Milton ain't Hendon Hooker, and you starting to see it. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Hendon Hooker covered up a lot. This roster is still flawed. It's only year 3, and y'all keep forgetting that. You keep thinking just because last year went so good, this year's supposed to be even better. Bro, it don't work that way, dog. Hendon was just that damn good. Bro, they still lost 2 games.
Exactly.
With the stats that he had.
I'm about to put an asterisk on that one.
They still lost 2 games, bro. Hendon had the best season a quarterback has ever had, outside of T. Martin winning a national championship. But Hendon Hooker had the best statistical season that any quarterback's had Tennessee in a doggone long time. He covered it up, guys. The roster was still flawed. What happened against South Carolina? Did you see that the roster was flawed in? You're damn right you did. That didn't have nothing to do with them stealing signs. The roster was flawed. I'm telling you.
We've heard some rumors on
that. Boys at Vol Nugs are working really hard, Rob.
Stop it, bro. Stop it. That is a bunch of nonsense, man.
You don't believe
Listen,
in the
bro.
Vol Nugs?
Listen, bro. Listen. All right. I'm going to give you this last example, and I'm out of here. All right.
Yes, sir.
If you've ever watched LeBron James play basketball,
LeBron.
What is the one thing he always likes to do?
Dunk it.
Drive to the basket and dunk on your ass. All right. Now, do you think if I know this, everybody else in the NBA don't know this? They all know it. But guess what? You can't stop it. It doesn't matter if the defense knows what you're going to do. If you execute the play the right way, it doesn't matter if they know what you're doing or not. Big-time players make big-time plays. Tennessee still had over 500 yards of offense against that South Carolina team, guys. Come on now. 500 yards of offense and you got every single defensive sign? Stop, man. That's a bunch of BS. But anyway.
There's a lot of sand on that field, man. There's a lot of
I'm out of here, man. I love y'all. I will see y'all next week. I'm sorry I got to run.
Hey, score prediction for Kroger Field, Rob.
Score prediction is Tennessee 45, Kentucky 12. Bump them cats. They suck. They are garbage. Awful, bro. If Tennessee loses this game, bro, I promise you will not hear from me for a long time.
They got run out of their own stadium by Missouri by 2 scores. That shit was crazy.
Tennessee can't lose this game, bro. Kentucky is bad. Kentucky does one thing. They run the football. What does the one thing Tennessee do? They stop the run, bro. They stop the run. Tennessee just played against Alabama with 5 stars from left to right on the offensive line. Alabama did not go crazy running that football. Kentucky's O-line is nowhere near Tennessee. I know they're coming off a bye week and all this and all that, but Mark Stoops just can't get over the hump when it comes to Tennessee.
I think whatever Mark Stoops do, bro, like he's been trying to stop the tempo for 2 years. Even when even when he controlled the time of possession last time in Kroger 2 years ago, like Tennessee pulled away in that shootout. Exactly. And like he took away the whole clock just running the dang football the whole time.
I love Mark Stoops, but this week, Mark Stoops, you're garbage. After we beat y'all Saturday, I'll go back to loving you again. I'll back to you giving your respect. I love Mark Stoops. But this week, you garbage. I'm out of here.
I can't agree with Rob about loving Mark Stoops. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
But Drew, man, like last year, what did we see? Kentucky tried to come in with that same game plan, and what did it do? It did not play out at all. We forget that this year is kind of different. Like if they come with that same attack this year, Kentucky tries to come in here and try to run the football, in Kroger Field all over us. With the clock rules of it keeping on going, man, if we jump out to that lead, like the way we did open up the first and second quarter, like we just did against Alabama, they're going to be playing from behind the whole entire game as well. And like, I just don't see a beneficiary, because at the same time, I'm like, dang, Mark Stoops has had 2 weeks. He had the extra bye week. He has all these, plans, scripts, whatever, getting ready for the tempo, probably has his guys running all over the field, doing whatever cardio drills. It's going to be different when like you have to go out there and guard at 11 on 11. We've got like everyone can prep it, they can practice for it, but when it comes down to it, it's hard to be stopped. Do they take some film from what Alabama did? Do they stack the box, stack one side, and force Joe to run? I don't know, but it's kind of hard for me to see Tennessee not stopping them defensively.
I think people get this like misconception because of the Florida game a few weeks ago that Kentucky had, that like Kentucky's like this dominant running football team. Brandon, do you know, just out of curiosity, do you know what Kentucky's rushing offense is ranked? Just out of curiosity. Just give me an idea what you think it is.
I'm going to say top 50 to be respectful.
Top 50?
Yeah.
They're 66.
Okay.
They average only 155 yards a game. And
they pass for only what, like two? And that's their defense. I'm wrong here.
Statistically, in every single category, I think with the exception of rushing defense, Tennessee is significantly better all across the board. I mean, Vols have the 7th rushing offense in the country. Kentucky's got 66. As inconsistent as our passing game has been,
I think it's going to be able to, yeah.
We're about 28 spots ahead of Kentucky. We're at 75th. Kentucky's at 103rd. There's only about 25 other teams in college football that have a worse passing game than Kentucky.
Their passing defense was giving up I think 258 yards, 285 yards a game, something like that.
250 yards a game is what they give up. They're 106.
If we've ever seen, if we've been waiting all year for the moment for a Joe Milton deep ball, get us out of our seats, make us gasp a little bit. I think it might come in this game. Just if it's Squirrel White or Nimrod running free, I think the opportunity is going to be this weekend. I was not too crazy with their DB play. Granted that Luther Burden is an elite wide receiver. The way he was, just toying with them men and Kroger was insane.
Oh, for sure.
If you get up 2 or 3 scores, given this rivalry, I think you can take the crowd out of it. Obviously, they're going to be pumped maybe the first few drives after seeing what happened in Bryant-Denny. But I think, the first 2 scores, man, they gave up against Missouri. I think they're playing us. I just don't expect them to be a factor.
I mean, they literally started off that game against Missouri up 14-0, and then proceeded, got outscored. I think it was 38-7, and they still lost by 3 touchdowns, even starting off the quarter with a 2-touchdown lead. So this is not a good football team. I know that they started off red hot, but you have to remember they didn't play anybody that's worth a damn outside of Florida, and that Florida game was it was kind of like our game. It was a fluke. It was kind of like how our game was against Florida as well. It's like they came in there expecting that they can just show up and just win, and instead they got their teeth kicked in, deservedly so. Because Florida just had zero passion on the field that entire, all 4 quarters in that game. But this is a game where I know we're only 4-point favorites, but realistically, there is zero excuse for us to lose this one.
Yeah. I've been trying to think about the only reason, there's a chance that, either we run away with this and we dominate like Rob says, or I think that they might have a good game plan and Mark Stoops might, have made it worth of his 2 weeks, probably didn't let his guys take off. He wants this game bad. He probably prepped for it for 2 weeks. I don't think he's ever had 2 weeks to prep for the tempo and everything else. I think it could be like what we saw 2 years ago, but I still don't think it's going to be enough for Kentucky to win.
No, not at all. Just everything about this team all across the board. I think their only good part of unit that they have on this team is their rushing defense. And their rushing defense is great. They're a top 15 in the country. They only average, to allow 109 yards a game. But we're also arguably going to have the best, rushing running back room that they have faced all year. And I think you may see a couple opportunities for Jalen Wright and Jabari Small to be able to get a few grabs and get at least, I would say, at least 120, 130 rushing yards on Saturday as well. But, man, I mean, we talked about, our frustrations, about the red zone offense that Tennessee has and everything and our struggles. You think we're bad. You think we're bad at red zone
Give me the
offense?
numbers, Drew. Give me the fucking numbers.
All right. Just give me your prediction on where you think Kentucky is.
I'm gonna say 127th.
All right. Well, no, that's all right. You're just being ridiculous.
Okay, I'm gonna say 105th.
They're 113th. They're 113, and Tennessee is 67. So, like, if you think ours is bad, ours is statistically 47 spots better than Kentucky's. So. This is a game where, like, I know we're 4-point favorites, and I think the reason why we're 4-point favorites is because Vegas.
Hammer the over, man. Fucking.
You gotta hammer Vols covering, but like I think the reason is because Vegas doesn't know whether if the team that played against South Carolina is going to show up or the team that played against Texas A&M is going to show up. And I mean, in their fairness, we haven't really been consistent all year as far as putting up numbers and having dominating performances too. With that said, though. I don't see how we don't win this game by at least 3 touchdowns. I really don't.
So, the last week stayed home, carried the fight from the Scoops house, whatever. This week, man, I think it's personal. I had to make my appearance in Kroger Field. I think it's going to be like
cold.
It's going to be cold for one, but at the same time, like this is like the one road game besides, Vanderbilt and Memorial fucking Stadium last year, First Bank Stadium, where we took over that place. Like where I could be like, okay, we're going to walk into someone's trap and take over. I didn't take advantage of the LSU trip last year, but this is a game that, I just want to go in out there and see Orange, man. Like, I think they're kind of just done. Basketball season's right around the corner for them as well. And, I think they're kind of getting tired of the whole, 8-4, 9-3 thing. But at the same time, the university, it's kind of just what they are, Drew. And even in our worst years, even if our setback years like this, it's just looking at everything, man. Like there shouldn't be a reason where fucking Squirrel White and James Pierce aren't having field days and SEC Players of the Week.
I mean, I think they will as well. I mean, and no disrespect to Kentucky. Hey, going 8-4, 9-3 Kentucky is a unbelievable year. That's a year where you should definitely have parades in the streets, and party like it's Mardi Gras. But I mean, I think us Tennessee fans have to remember, even in the wilderness years of 2008 to 2020, we still only lost to them 3 times. I mean, and those were the worst teams that we've ever had in the history of the program, and those were some of the best teams that Kentucky's ever had in the history of their program.
Their best team of all time came into Neyland and got fucked.
And lost 24-6. So, I mean, that's the thing. So, I just I understand the hysteria and our fan base overreacting and, because of the collapse that we had against Alabama last weekend. But look, I mean, it's like what Rob said. Alabama's got 18 5-stars. Alabama's Alabama, and they got the greatest coach of all time. And whether if we like to admit it or not, I think all of us deep down inside kind of knew that we were going to lose that game going in. Now, the way that we lost, I don't think any of us expected that, of course.
No,
but this is a different team, a way worse football team than Alabama is. And, I mean, even with it being on the road, nighttime game, we've come in there year in, year out, dubs nonstop, and I don't think we're going to stop at this point either.
I last year, man, Kentucky figured out the name Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright had a, crazy performance, obviously assisted by Hendon Hooker's running game as well. All week, man. I think Joe's also going to get get it done in the passing game as well. I think he might have a touchdown or 2 through the air. But all week I've just been like, Jalen Wright is going to probably get into the end zone. I keep seeing, Joe Milton probably get into the end zone. I think Kentucky's also going to figure out the name Dylan Sampson, man. I think this might be a week where off the edge he just gets let loose because their perimeter defense, I just wasn't really impressed with it, man. Like even Missouri was, bringing their guys, first, second-year guys at the receiver position, not just Burden, that were having success. And I think you might be able to take advantage of that as well. Just got to go out there and execute, man. Score some points.
I mean, and the thing is they have given up, I believe it's 89 points in the last 2 games that they played against Missouri and Georgia. They gave up a 50 burger to Georgia, which was unbelievable. That was easily the best performance Georgia's had all season. But, I mean, Missouri's a good football team as well. But I think a lot of people tend to forget, though, if you look at who they've beaten this year, they really haven't beaten anyone that's like that impressive outside of, you could arguably maybe Kansas State, but even then they had to kick a 61-yarder to win that one. So, I mean, for the fact that they lost by 3 touchdowns to Missouri at home, especially after being up 14-0, as I mentioned before, I mean, you can't, statistically and realistically looking, I cannot fathom the idea of Tennessee losing this football game on Saturday. But I am curious, though, Brando, what's your score prediction for this one?
I think this is a game where the last 2 weeks we have not seen Josh Heupel and co on the offensive side get over the 30-point marker, which is really rare in Josh Heupel's tenure. I think that changes and they get back on track this week, maybe even a little more, man. I know Rob said like 45-12, 48-12. I got them in the 40-point region as well. My original score prediction was going to be 45-17.
I mean, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. I definitely expect them to like kind of stack up the box, Kentucky's defense, and try to stop our run game early on. But I just think even with all the passing inconsistencies that we've had with Joe Milton, that this mismatch that we have with their secondary, who's arguably, I mean, I think they might be worse than South Carolina. Their secondary is. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Joe to be able to throw the deep ball, and I hope that he's able to be connected, especially to guys like Chaz Nimrod, and hopefully Caleb Webb too can be able to get some playing time, especially. But
I was going to say this last was a huge bounce back week for Ramel Keaton. I want to see how he takes advantage of that, getting back in the right mindset. Is he kind of back? Is he getting into things? I think he has a chance to step up huge this weekend with his leadership.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for Keaton as well. I mean, obviously he had that one drop in the first half against Alabama, but that grab that he had in the second half was that contested pass, or I think it was the first half or second half, was unbelievable. Yeah. And he's improved as the season's gone by. But I think this will be a good game for Keaton. I think Squirrel's going to continue his, run that he's had the last,
8
from
targets
last
in the
weekend.
first half, man. That shit was crazy.
I don't know if he's going to get 8 targets, but I think he'll get anywhere between 8 to 10 passes, for sure, opportunities. I got Vols winning 40-17, though. I just think it might be a little bit close in the first half. I think we might have a 7 to 10 point lead going in the first half. And I think we're just going to be able to cruise on, make up for our mistakes from last weekend. I think Heupel is going to have to finally realize that he can't just allow his defense to win football games and just continue to stay aggressive offensively. But
how many weeks has it been since we've had a second half touchdown? I can't think. It wasn't A&M, not Bama.
It was South Carolina. South Carolina was the last time that we had.
Like, you got to go out there and play the Nealon Maxims, man. Play a full 60 minutes, man.
You got to play full 60. And we haven't. I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, I mean, you could even argue it against South Carolina. We really haven't played a full 60 minutes all year long. I mean, you could maybe argue Virginia, but even then, that game was over after halftime.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good opportunity from bounce back. I mean, Kentucky's a very favorable matchup, and we got a couple good favorable matchups coming ahead. With Kentucky, with UConn as well before we go on the road against Missouri. So I think this will be a good, momentum booster for this program, for the guys especially, and just to get a road SEC win under their belt and kind of get that monkey off their back. I feel like this team has had, because I think we've lost 3 of our last 4 SEC road games. So just to be able to turn that, trend around, turn to a positive one, and win convincingly, I think is a very high possibility for this football team.
Yeah, man, and I think a lot of, if you were judging off our Twitter presence, you would think that the season's over and that the confidence is shot. But everything I've heard in the fucking locker room, like, everyone's just fired up. They're ready to get back on track. They understand what happened this week, and they have a really bad taste in their mouth. And I even though Kentucky's coming off a bye, I think Tennessee realizes what their season still can be. And man, you're talking about a 9-3. 10-2 season at best, where you're either in the Citrus Bowl or better, or a New Year's Six Bowl back-to-back years, with the first time at back-to-back 10-win season since I don't know how long, probably since I was born.
I would say the 90s.
Yeah,
90s.
So, before I was even fucking born. Never seen it in my lifetime, and that's just crazy to think in general, man. So a huge thing at task, and obviously this game, it's not our biggest rivalry, but it's starting to mean more. We just hate Kentucky, that, the battle of the barrel back in the day. They should definitely bring it back, but I think it kind of means something to a lot of people in the northern part of the state, mid-state, a lot of people. So go in there, Kroger Field, man. Maybe a little hashtag Food City after we beat them. That'd be nice from the social media team, and just see how it goes, man. But I got the Vols going out there and taking care of business.
I think so too, but speaking of the beer barrel, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, why?
I don't know,
Why
man.
is it?
It's perfectly painted.
What?
Austin Price is posting videos of it. It looks
I
brand
know.
new.
Looks beautiful. Looks
Like we're
beautiful.
just gonna
Looks
take Peyton
incredible.
Manning having it over his head, and
I
that's
mean,
it.
here's my thing, right? And I understand the whole entire reason was like 25, 26 years ago, 2 Kentucky football players died in a DUI accident. So I understand that. But
Sure, yeah, I didn't know
we're
that.
we're talking about one of the suites at Kroger Field is owned by a bourbon company, right? They sell beer inside the stadium, both at Kroger Field and Neyland Stadium. You have beer advertisements, seltzer advertisements all across both stadiums as well. What's the argument? I mean, like literally, what's the argument? I mean, like at this point, it's like you're already selling it, you're already exposed to it, and everyone knows that college football is infused by beer and alcohol and all that stuff as well. So I mean, like there was zero argument, in my opinion, as to why it did not bring it back. And not to mention, the beer barrel was fucking sick. I mean, that was such a
Fucking
cool.
cool, man.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, one
All
of the
the
coolest
Reds
in my
loved it. It
opinion.
was fucking great.
Oh, the Reds loved it. I mean, everyone loved it. I mean, it was a great thing until it got taken away from our hands. But
a lot
bring
of
it
people
back.
in the outside world, now that we're obviously hoping for a crazy victory and a bounce back victory for the Vols going into Lexington this weekend, man. But a lot of people this past week have taken a chance to kind of shit on the fan base. And I just want to point out that guy on the On3 board had that figured out about the whole Michigan thing a year ago, man. He was so right. And I can't believe that, like, you would not think in the GQ they're over here uncovering NCAA madness, but here we are. So
It's the power of the message boards, baby, especially the power of VolQuest, especially guys like Brent Hubbs and AP and all of them. Trust me. I mean, everything you could possibly think of, it's on those message boards. It's the best
in
thing
this
you
day
could
and age of college
be on by
football, though,
far.
Drew, in this day and age of college football, like you would think, like with like all the money surrounded by like the alcohol and stuff in the games, like someone would like sponsor that game. And I'm kind of just blessed that no one was like how like Florida and Georgia is, how it's like a neutral site game. They're like, oh, let's just meet in Nashville and play in Nissan. Like that's probably the best thing that I don't even know why I just thought of that. French fried.
Wait, what do you mean, like a
You know
neutral
how
site game in
yeah, like
Kentucky?
imagine if someone like took over the beer barrel game or whatever, made like a legit thing, and then they made us play a neutral site game in Nashville. That would be disgusting.
I'm so sick and tired of neutral site games in Nashville. You have no idea. It seems like every single year for the
I
last
love it, man.
15
I'm right
years.
here.
Well, I mean, obviously you love it because you live in Nashville, but like for all of us that want just a home game, like it's taken away from our hands. And so it seems like every year for the last 15 years we played a neutral site game in Nashville. It's ridiculous. It's like I just hate neutral site games in general now. I used to think they were cool like 10 years ago when Tennessee wasn't doing it, but now that every single year I think next year we play neutral site in Charlotte. The year after that we play in Atlanta. Then we go back to Charlotte, and it's just like
Well, you feel
it's exhausting.
different. What next year we do play in Charlotte? I forgot about that against NC State, right? So
Yeah.
like, how are you gonna feel when they change Nissan Stadium and it gets torn down? They replace it with whatever it's getting called.
I mean, it'd be cool, but like it still doesn't change the fact that like I'd rather have another home game at Neyland than that.
That's true.
I mean, maybe they can convince Vanderbilt to play their home games at the Titan Stadium. That'd be sick. Then I would come for that. But no, I mean, it's just I'm a neutral site hater. I've always been anti-neutral site, especially the last 5 years, and bring back 7, 8 home games a year and quit taking them away from us. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. We don't even know like with the future of college football how it's gonna be 7, 8, 9, whatever they're gonna decide on. That's kind of crazy that they don't even know yet, and we're like a year away from this madness, man. So it's just gonna be a clusterfuck, and I think we gotta enjoy what we got, man. Enjoy this setup where we are.
We definitely do, and I mean we'll get more home games, especially I think once this new SEC format comes up, and we should know hopefully by the end of the season. I still think it's going to be a 7-1 type of format that they're going to have. I don't know who our permanent rival is going to be. That's going to be another. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Alabama. I mean, if it's Vanderbilt, I'm all for it. So anytime,
I would guess they
played,
pick the Iron Bowl, keep Vanderbilt, whatever, in-state shit. But obviously, a lot, football wise. But man, like just around the corner, even though we got 5 more weeks, about not even counting down from 5 weeks until basketball season, Drew. Like it is crazy, right around the corner. All the Market Square events, the practices, the scrimmages we've been keeping up, kind of got me fired up, and I'm ready, man. I'm ready to be hurt again.
It is finally here. Tennessee plays their exhibition on Sunday against Michigan State, which you can watch on Big Ten Network. I believe it starts at 3:30. The only news when it comes to that is that Santiago Vescovi will not be there. Dealing with a family matter at the moment, so obviously thoughts and prayers for him and his family on dealing with that. But no major injuries. The big news, which I'll just say unconfirmed reports, of course, is that Zakai Ziegler, I can't talk today. Double Z is back and full running and has been, playing at full speed the last 2-3 practices and is eyeing on a return against Wisconsin in a couple of weeks, which we play on that Friday before the Missouri game on that Saturday. So that would be a massive get for Tennessee basketball, especially to have Zakai back that early, where I think a lot of us, after that ACL injury back in March, didn't really expect him to be back potentially until about December or January. So huge sign ahead, positive things, way ahead of schedule as far as his recovery goes. And man, I mean, we got a lot of great games this month, especially. I mean, November 6th, home opener against Tennessee Tech, which should be a win. But that Friday, that same week, we play at Wisconsin. And then after that, in a couple of weeks, we'll play Syracuse in the Maui Invitational and potentially play either number 1 Purdue or top 10 Gonzaga team in that next round. That same tournament's got Kansas, Marquette, North, and I believe Texas as well, just to name a couple teams that are in that Maui Invitational. And we play at Chapel Hill on Thanksgiving week against North Carolina on ESPN as well, which will be a massive game. But, dude, when I look at this lineup, man, I mean, I know we still got 5 games left of football, but I can't help but get freaking fired up about how much talent is on this basketball team. I
gotta get out to TBA, man.
What? Oh, dude, yeah.
I got to get to TBA this year.
Dude, I mean, and I looked at a roster today. There's about maybe 12 or 13 guys that could actually be key players, whether if they're starting, reserves, contributing one way or another, that can, play at a high level for us. And I don't think Rick Barnes has had this much talent on one team as he had until now. I mean, I think this team is, from a roster standpoint, more talented even than the Admiral and Grant Williams team back in 2018 and 2019. And bringing back 3 of your top 6 scorers, from last year, that's a very rare thing, especially in college basketball, because so many guys are either one and done or hit to the portal and go elsewhere. So you bring back Santee, you bring back Zakai, you bring back Triple J. I mean, there's a lot of talent and a lot of experience. And, I'm probably going to get hurt for this. Trust me. I know it, man. I already know that, I'm going to wind up disappointed. But
yeah,
my gut's telling me, man. And, I mean, it's not my gut. It's just looking at it on paper. This is a team, I think, if they don't go to the Elite 8 or a Final Four, I think you consider it a failure. I mean, I think the problem with last year is that a lot of people kind of expected, Tyreek Key to instantly come in here and just start playing like Ray Allen and drop 25 a game. And, we didn't really have a lot of depth once, Zakai got injured. And that's just not the case this year. I mean, you got Freddie Buckets who's going to be playing backup. You got Santee at guard as well.
Jordan Gainey out there.
Jordan Gainey, Cameron Carr, who's played really well, played really well in Italy. And then your forwards, man, are Dalton Connect and Jemiah Mashak and Triple J if needed. And then you got your power forward position with Awaka, Triple J, and Kate Phillips, and your centers with JP Estrella and Jonas Aidis. I mean, there's so much talent and there's so much to work with. And, this is going to help us tremendously come into conference play. And quite honestly, this is why, a lot of, outlets have us as the preseason favorites for the SEC and not just for the regular season and the tournament, as well. So
I'm so excited for the offense, Drew. I can't wait to see. I think this might actually. I know last year we were like, oh, it's going to be a completely different offensive team, but really all we did was kind of put it in the post to Kumwa and let him kind of do his thing. He's not here anymore. Losing Euros, it's a brand new team down low, a lot more big bodies, a big crime going on in Hendersonville if you can't hear from my background, but. I think offensively, man, this team is going to be able to turn it around. I'm so excited for Freddie Buckets. I think he's probably going to be everything he was kind of hyped to be. CJ Carr is definitely elite, having the leadership of Santee and Zakai, guys that are proven scorers. I think, Tennessee is going to be a lot more friendly on the perimeter, but as well, have a dominating inside, bro. It's just crazy to see. Fucking
It's gonna
fired up.
be it's gonna be incredible to watch, man. I mean, and I think the one thing that's exciting, especially this year, is like just the good matchups that we're going to have, that we're going to see in the regular season, especially. I mean, we're also playing a top 25 Illinois team in December, which will be an awesome game to go to. And Arkansas is going to be good. Kentucky's going to be good. Texas A&M is going to be great. There's just, I mean, the SEC is going to be a juggernaut this year as far as the conference goes, and I think anywhere between winning it, even to a top 3 performance or in conference play should be the expectation. And man, it's dude, I mean, this is the most fired up I've been about Tennessee basketball in a while, and we've had a lot of good seasons the last 5-6 seasons.
It's that part of the year, man, where like everything runs consecutively, and you got Tennessee basketball, and then like Vols baseball. The baseball is just when like handled Virginia Tech in an exhibition in Greenville, like 14-7, or like getting in the double digits, seeing those guys turn it around, like the programs that have continued to grow at Tennessee, not just football, where we can be hyped about all sports, like not just men's, but definitely women's as well. Hype for some Lady Vols, see how they turn it around. But man, like overall, it's that time of the year. Weather gets a little bit colder, gets a little bit hard to breathe outside, but your favorite time of the year, man, get some cocoa, and it's time to go. So definitely excited for this time of the year. And man,
anytime you got that November time period where college football and college basketball intertwine with each other, and you got both on TV at the same time, it's electric, man. It's one of the best times of the year as a sports fan by far, and especially a lot of the preseason tournaments with the Maui Invitational and NIT and all those as well. It's gonna be incredible,
man. Drew, big weekend this weekend. If we come back here next Wednesday with a L, I just don't think it's possible. But then we have a lot of questions. Maybe we'll leave Vol Twitter for a little bit and express their concerns. But I think Tennessee goes into Kroger Field. They buy that stock up, run up the numbers on the fucking offensive side, run up the scoreboard, make a sandwich, leave the cheese wrapper there, and walk out of Kroger Field with a W, send the Kentucky fans back to the coal mines. There is no reason that we should not go in here and win this football game this weekend and come back talking 6-2.
I agree completely. I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. I know as frustrating as last Saturday's loss was to Alabama. I mean, at the end of the day, though, this is Kentucky we're talking about, and we're Tennessee, and we never lose to Kentucky. And even when we do lose, it's like a last-second ordeal for them. So
to quote Alontae Taylor, man, we don't lose to Kentucky.
We don't lose to Kentucky. Simple as that. So we're going to go in there. We're going to go into Kroger Field. Buy some groceries, buy some hot cocoa for the missus, slap Kentucky's mama and walk away with a W. I mean, simple as that. So I'm going to whip that ass on Saturday.
Man, so hopefully next week we're back with some good news regarding the football team. Be on the lookout maybe for some possible basketball and football commitments. Recruiting is at an all-time everyday activity and trending a lot of way for both guys. Jam-packed episode, Drew, but hopefully next week we're coming back here with a W. If y'all feel free, man, Vol Nation, be able to go show the new running back commit a lot of love. A guy, if you go check out the Vol Scoops page on my page, I posted his live commitment reaction. Dude was on FaceTime with Josh Heupel, committed during his announcement with Josh Heupel, and like it's giving everyone chills, man. That's the kind of people you want to have with your program. So be able to go show the new Vol Justin Baker some love and show him why our program and our fan base is one of the best in the country. Drew, any last comments before we end this show and get up out of here?
I mean, I think we all said it perfectly, let out all, our anger and, negativity out in the air, start off the show. I think it wound up being a great show. One thing I will mention, if you didn't hear me, 10, 15 minutes ago, Tennessee's exhibition against Michigan State at Michigan State on TV, Sunday, 3:30, Big Ten Network. Be a great early matchup to see, how this Tennessee team's going to fold out. Michigan State's traditionally one of the best programs in college basketball, always have an NCAA tournament caliber team. I think it'll be a great test early on for this team. And also on Halloween, they play against Lenore Ryan and TBA, and, tickets are $5. I'm going to probably wind up going to it. So, might as well check it out. But, man, that's hopefully next Wednesday we're talking about a couple good wins for Tennessee basketball and talking about a 3, plus touchdown win over Kentucky as well.
Man, we're gonna whip that ass. To quote Daryl Taylor, we're gonna whip that fucking ass and send them back to the coal mines. It just means a little bit more, but they're always gonna be the little brothers behind us. Drew, it's been a pleasure, my friend. Next week we'll be back with a Tennessee W. Until then, good night. Go Vols.
Go Vols, baby.